So, I had said it had been rather quiet in the Overwatch League. Yeah, well, it isn't now. It's been an interesting day. And, well, it was an interesting day yesterday, I should say. And it's provided us with a lot of information. Not only the Paris Eternal. We have moves at the Paris Eternal. Finally, we know what this roster might well look like in 2021 after its explosion back earlier this year. Well, I say earlier this year, it was a couple of months ago now. So, first of all, let's go over Valiant first, shall we? They re-signed one of their coaches, and Unter, I believe it was, and they've signed another coach. This is Sung Woo. He's coming as assistant coach at the Valiant. He was at the Guangzhou Charge before. Guangzhou Charge, they had a decent 2020, but they didn't have a massive 2020. They did do quite well in the Summer Showdown, where they actually did win over the Shanghai Dragons. The only time that Shanghai Dragons were denied a tournament title during the regular season. This was Guangzhou Charge. They were great in the double barrier meta. Krong was a fantastic Sigma. So, Sungwoo, not a bad pickup, but I don't think it's the best pickup. So, it's not going to be a massive thing for the Valiant. But then, I mean, oh boy. So, they lost KSF, didn't they? And we were like, who are they going to replace them with? They've replaced him with Agilities. Yes. Remember that guy that used to be at Los Angeles Valley? Remember the in and out thing? Yeah, Agilities. He's from the Toronto Defiant, now moving over to the Valiant, and Nah, I don't think it's great. I mean, Agilities was with them when they got to the stage title back in this inaugural season, and when they got quite far in the inaugural season playoffs, but they lost to London. But it's still not the massive pickup. It's still not the landmark pickup that Valiant needed to take themselves to the next level. When I look at the Valiant roster, I look at them and they like Agilities, KSP, Shax. Shax, KSP, I like them. Agilities, not so sure. Not gonna lie, but it could be okay. Then we have Dreamer and Adam as the tank line. I don't think I like that, to be quite honest with you. And then we have Lastra and Rain. Lastra and Rain will be okay as a support. I don't like the support line. I don't like their flex DPS because I don't think their flex DPS is a flex, to be quite honest with you. Agilities has a great Doom and Genji. That's about it. Like, there's not much else to really fuss about. So, when we saw Toronto Defiant do so well in 2020 was when Agilities was allowed to play the Genji in the Genji meta that we saw. If it wasn't Genji, then, you know, Agilities wasn't really of much use. Hence, sometimes he was played, he wasn't even played. It was Zik who was played, and Zik wasn't even that decent. Anyway, that's not going to be the main portion of this video. We are going to be talking about the Paris Eternal, because that is where things have gone supersonic. So, we had been waiting for announcements from the Paris Eternal after they let go of their entire roster, and we had learned of their financial difficulties after not having sponsors and 2020, COVID, etc, etc. And Vala had been trying her best to keep this whole ship together. She'd been doing everything, and now she is the general manager of Paris Eternal. Thoroughly well deserved. She deserves to be the head of this team because, my god, she's been running it. And she's a great choice for it. Don't see why not. And she has put together a team. It's going to be interesting to see how this works. It is totally European right now. There are no American options on this. It's all European. Really interesting. Paris going back to its roots. But I was surprised because I expected this roster, the Paris roster, to actually be announced after the London roster, which has not happened. London's still very much keeping it quiet, which is going to be interesting. I'm not going to lie. We are still expecting Hurricane to be promoted to the London roster, but again, we still don't know. Okay, back to the Paris Eternal. We have 2 supports and 2 tanks and 2 DPS, so we have a 6-man roster for Paris right now. That is not going to be the end of it. They will be signing more players, because 6-man rosters are not enough in the Overwatch League. You have to have either 7 or 8. I believe it's 8 now. So there will be another at least 2 players come into this Paris Eternal roster. It'll be interesting to see if they pick up. So this is not necessarily the final roster, but I expect this to be the starting DPS, to be quite honest with you. I think a lot of them will be starters. Anyway, let's start off with the supports. With our first support, we have Khan. Khan is a German flex support. He's coming in from Obey Alliance. Obey Alliance, they are a very good team. Obey Alliance have been creeping up the EU contenders ladder. And what I mean by that is they were formed out of the ashes of Raspberry Racers back in the day. And then they came up the ladder. They got third in Season 2 September. They got second in Season 2 October, losing to Hurricane quite heavily. Hurricane were dominating EU contenders, as Hurricane do. They've been doing that all year. But then, Obey Alliance coming in November, they managed to beat the Hurricane 3-0 in the November tournament and take the title. The only title not going to the Hurricane this year. Obey Alliance are definitely the challengers to Hurricane in the EU region. So Khan has been a massive part of that. He was part of the 2019 German World Cup team. He's also been part of Young and Beautiful and Shoesmaker EU and Phase 2. Long history going back to 2019 in that region. I don't think he's going to set the world alight, but I think it's a stable pick. Right. Then we have the main support. The main support is someone with an incredibly storied history. He will be one of the oldest, if not the oldest players in the league at 28 next season. This is Neptuno, the Spanish main support. Neptuno has been everywhere. He has one of the longest team lists in Overwatch. Like, it's absolutely crazy. So, Neptuno, he had time at Cloud9 EU back in the day, Team Vitality. He went to Philadelphia Fusion for a while, for 2 years in his first stint in the Overwatch League. Then he transferred to the Guangzhou Charge. Then things started to get a little bit sticky because of COVID, inactivity, stuff like that. Nero had exactly the same problems with visas and stuff like that. Neptuno actually didn't really get to play for the Guangzhou Charge. And then he left the Guangzhou Charge, and now he's at the Paris Eternal. He will have no issues with the Paris Eternal, quite obviously. I think Neptuno is a great leader pickup. It's not... The reason Neptuno... And some people may say, well, how the hell did they get Neptuno, considering they got no money? Although Neptuno was in the Overwatch League last year, this is not Neptuno transferring. Neptuno was let go by the Guangzhou Charge, and so he was a free agent. Now, I don't honestly think anyone else was going to pick up Neptuno. I'm not going to lie, I know it's harsh on the guy, but I don't think anyone was. At the age of 28, it's unexpected that he would get picked up again. So, this is basically... It sounds harsh, but I think Paris Eternal was his last resort. Paris Eternal are going to be paying minimum wage. Now, if he'd had any other option, probably would have gone somewhere else. But that's not going to happen. So he's settled for the Paris Eternal to be in the Overwatch League, because otherwise he'd be playing contenders or he wouldn't be playing at all. I think if he wasn't given the option of the Paris Eternal, I think he probably would have retired. I'm not going to lie. But this is another shot for Neptuno at the league. I think it's an okay pickup. I still think overall this is going to be a weak team though. I really do. So let's get on to get onto the tanks then. The main tank for the Paris Eternal will be Dan. Dan is a 19-year-old Dutch main tank. He has been playing for Revival. He's also been playing for Ultimates, Young and Beautiful, Ex Oblivione, Sky Foxes, Atlanta Academy back in the day. There's a lot. So, then he can play all of the main tanks. He was with the Dutch World Cup squad in 2019, which actually did pretty darn well. So, this is a decent pickup. It's not gonna set the world alight. But to be quite honest, not a lot of these signings for the Paris Eternal are going to set the world alight because they don't have the pulling power to do these big, massive signings. I think it's a good signing for the Paris Eternal. I think it's a stable main tank option. I think there was a better option out there, but I think there may be visa issues with that certain main tank. So that's why they haven't picked him up. Because the off tank that Paris Eternal have picked up is Elivote. Now I'm extremely happy that Elivote gets another shot at the league, and I think there's no better place than the Paris Eternal to give him that shot. Elivote was with Angry Titans back when Angry Titans did so well in EU contenders. He then went to Team Envy and did really well there as well. Then he got caught by the Washington Justice. Washington Justice took him on. He played a little bit with the Washington Justice, but then the Justice brought in Janu. And basically Elivote got permabenched. Alongside his long-standing Swedish main tank partner, Lolshish. Now, Elivote and Lolshish, they were everywhere. Envy, Titans, everywhere. and they got split up. He went inactive at Washington Justice. Elliot got transferred out of the Washington Justice. He ended up going to Team Doge. Team Doge, they did really well in NA Contenders as well. He then went to New Kings. They did okay in the EU region of Contenders. And now Elliot finds himself at the Paris Eternal, but not with his Swedish partner, Lolshish. Probably because Lolshish doesn't have the ability to go to America because of visa issues that plagued him at the Washington Justice. So that's probably why he's not partnered with Lolshish, and he's been split up from him and now he's been partnered with Dunn. It's not ideal. I'd like to see Lolshish and Elliot together, but if they can't, then Elliot has to take that step to be the Overwatch League off-tank. I think it's a good pickup. I don't think, again, it's going to set the world alight, but I like Elliot as an off-tank. This isn't going to be a tank pairing that is going to be top 10. It's not. It'll be a tank pairing that if London Spitfire promote Haddy and Wolfig to the London Spitfire, it'll compete with them. It'll compete possibly with the tank line of the Boston Uprising, or the tank line of the Vancouver Titans. It'll be probably better than those two, actually. But it won't be setting the world light. It won't be competing with the likes of the Toronto Defiant tank line that's looking like it's shaping up now, or the top tank lines in this league. But it is going to be a steady one, probably. So it's not too bad. The question is, can Paris Eternal make this up with good DPS? Well, actually, I quite like the DPS pickups of the Paris Eternal. So first of all, in the flex DPS role, the projectile, they are bringing in Naga. So Naga is coming in from, again, a Bay Alliance. We had a lot of inklings that perhaps Paris Eternal were looking at a Bay Alliance, because I know Valor had been speaking very highly of a Bay Alliance. So this is not too much of a surprise. Naga is 19, he's from Denmark, has a fairly extensive hero pool, the Echo, the Junkrat, Hanzo, Farah, Genji. He's been on 2 World Cup squads with Denmark, 2018, 2019, and again, has a story going all the way back to 2018. He's been on Copenhagen Flames, that team doesn't even exist anymore. He was on Goats, remember Goats? He was on Montreal Rebellion, the academy team of the Toronto Defiant when that existed. She's been a crew EU, Tea Party, Angry Titans, Ex Oblivione. He then retired, and then he came back to Ex Oblivione whenever the Team Doge did well with Team Doge, then came into a Bay Alliance, doing well with them as well, and now he gets a shot at the Overwatch League with the Paris Eternal. Now, I like Naga. He's been good. I really think he's been good for a Bay Alliance. He reminds me sort of Shockwave in some respects, which, if that is the case, then I think that is a great pickup for the Paris Eternal. Now, I think, honestly, him paired with their other DPS player that we're going to talk about in a minute, I think that's their strongest line in the team right now. I think the tank and the support line lacks, but I think the DPS line can be pretty potent. I'm not going to lie. So I like it. He is going to be paired with someone who has extensive experience in not only the World Cup, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, every single World Cup this guy has competed at. He's also competed in the Overwatch League. This is Onigod. So, Onigod. Okay. Onigod, great hit scan player. Like, I love Onigod. He's a great player. He was at Angry Titans, Toronto Esports, back in the day. Toronto Esports, wow. Whew. Then he really started to bounce around the European, the NA scene, like Third Impact, Team Envy, Team Doge, all teams that did really well, especially Envy and Doge. They did extremely well with Onigod in those teams. He then bounces over to the Paris Eternal to replace Decay when all that happened, and I honestly think Onigod was not that bad at the Paris Eternal, at the Dallas Fuel, I should say. But problem is, Dallas Fuel was a mess. Like, it really was a mess. He was going into basically an absolute beep storm. So it was tough for him to really get anything really of note at the Dallas Fuel. He then went to New Kings after leaving the Fuel for a month. New Kings did okay in the European region of contenders, nothing to set the world alight. And then he finds himself again back at the Overwatch League with Paris Eternal. Now, New Kings also had Elivo, so there's really nice synergy coming in. You've got 2 coming in from New Kings. You've got 2 coming in from a Bay Alliance, and I really like that. That means that Paris Eternal hopefully should settle down pretty quickly, which is really, really nice. But it's interesting. I honestly think this is actually a good roster compared to what we possibly could have seen from the Paris Eternal. I think it's better than expected. I also think it's not going to set the world alight. So I think the fire's been put out at the Paris Eternal. It's still not great in terms of, you know, compared to what it was. But it is bringing it back home to the European fan base, which I do remember back in the day when Paris Eternal went so heavily Korean. The Paris fans didn't really like it, especially the French ones. So I hope they're happy now. Even though they don't have any French people on there, they do have a lot of Europeans. I mean, they're literally all European. So, yeah, it's an okay roster. I worry about the main tank, and I worry about the supports. That's what I worry about on that roster. I think the off-tank and the 2 DPS, Naga and Oni God, they can be good. So I think that'll be okay. But that is it for this one. It's been a little bit of a longer one because we have so many moves at the Paris Eternal, but it's been an interesting one, and we'll keep an eye on Paris Eternal because I'm expecting at least 2 more moves from them in the near future. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.